everybody. It's Wanda Baader here from Strategize Your Success, and together with my co-host Cynthia Bazin from Smart Chick, we are Hot Tips for Biz, bringing you the top experts in the business community. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and turn over the show to my co-host so that she can introduce our guest host and guest expert today.
Hi everyone, Cynthia Bazin here. Thank you so much for joining Wanda and I for Hot Tips for Biz. We're thrilled that you're here. We are excited to have our guest host with us today. I'm going to put her up on the camera, Denise Banks-Grasedyck of Banks-Grasedyck.com. And I want to introduce you today to our guest expert, Sue Porter from The Legacy Leader. Sue, you're up on the screen. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Cynthia. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Sue, I would love for you to introduce yourself to our audience if they don't already know you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into your business.
Well, Cynthia, that's a fun story, but I don't have enough time to get into that, so I'll try to be really short. Basically, I was a stay-at-home mom and a wife, and with a passion to work with people, I came across a powerful tool and told my husband someday when the kids were older, I'd like to go into the business world and help people get in that sandbox and learn to get along better together while they're doing business. And so that's how my business started. And I jumped in and with very little training went straight to a $1.7 billion company where I worked with the top 3 executives and coached them with this tool we're going to talk about today. But it's also a tool that I get to take and work with junior high students. So it's one tool with multiple applications that we'll discuss a little bit.
Okay, perfect. Well, great introduction, Sue. And again, everyone, welcome to the show, Hot Tips for Biz. So, Sue, I want to jump off with our first question, but our topic is absolutely really cool. It's about what your mama didn't tell you about business. So I'm going to go with the first question of you, Sue, is just what is it our mamas didn't tell you about business?
Well, you know, most people start their businesses, Cynthia, because they have a passion for what they do and they have a skill set that they want to employ and they've risen to the top in their field and they want to do that thing that they've done so well. Only when they get into business, they find out one small thing, and that is that they have to work with people. And everywhere I go, I hear people say, "So I love my job," if it wasn't for the people. Because most of us aren't prepared to motivate, encourage, build people up, correct them, make sure that we know how to do those performance reviews. And so what your mama didn't tell you about business is you have to work with people in every spectrum of your business, especially the first 2 years when you have to market.
How true that is. I mean, Wanda, you're a marketing expert. I mean, of course, we've got to work with people, and you work with people all day long, right?
Absolutely. And it's like Sue said, the marketing is vital because, you know, nobody knows about your business when it's new, so you really got to get it out there.
Awesome. And Denise, I want to put you up on the screen. Welcome to the show. We appreciate you being here today. And how excited are you to have Sue on today to talk about this?
Well, thank you so much, Cynthia. I am thrilled to be here, and I'm really excited to hear what Sue has to say because, as she said, the things that she's talking about, some of them we probably learned in the sandbox, and some of them we thought we wouldn't need again, and I'm so excited that she's going to be able to tell us how we can bring that into our businesses and you know, feed our success with that.
Awesome. And Sue, I can't wait to hear about this tool you're talking about. So I'm going to bring it back to Denise to go on to our next point.
Okay, great. Thanks, Cynthia. So, Sue, one of the things that I learned is that with this tool, you're actually able to read people's reactions and responses 99.6% of the time. Is that correct?
Well, let me give you an example, and I think this speaks for itself. If I could give you a crystal ball, and that crystal ball told you everything you needed to be able to walk in and approach someone, how to speak to them, what not to say, what buttons not to push, whether you come in with all sorts of data or whether you come in brief and amazing, would you think that tool would be valuable to you?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I think that would, I want it now. So,
Right. Well, when people learn the language of people, which is what we call DISC styles of behavior, DISC is an acronym for 4 different behavioral styles. We all have all 4 of them in varying degrees. And also the interesting thing is this is not a psychological assessment, so I won't know if you're bipolar or schizophrenic. I'll just know how you best act and respond in different situations. And so really, you can be 99.6% accurate if you learn the tool, because the validity testing behind this is amazing. So it's scientifically proven and validated.
Perfect. You know, so Sue, we're talking about DISC today, right? Is that the tool that you use mainly in your business?
Right. It is one of the fundamental tools, and I use it across every spectrum, whether it's conflict resolution, team building. I put every coach through it. Every group and organization I work with, I ask that they go through it, because when my client goes through it, I then know how to treat them according to who they are in a way that they're most able to receive from me the coaching that I give them or the training that I give them. So it's an invaluable asset to me. And they sometimes they'll go, how did you know that about me? Well, I can read a graph and I can tell what that graph says, because we all have observable behaviors that are predictable. We're not that complicated. We're pretty predictable. When you get in this, you realize it.
Wanda, well, have you ever heard of this before? Have you ever used it? What do you think about what Sue's saying? I mean, it's pretty awesome to be able to have that information in business.
Absolutely. It's like Sue and I have been friends for a long time, and Sue has, taught me about the DISC method, and it definitely has a lot of validity there, as far as personality types. And Cynthia, you and I are psych majors from the past.
Yes.
So this is a way of kind of getting to know people where you can help to read them in their business.
Right. I mean, that's really what it's all about, is for us to, number one, listen to our clients, but listen to understand. And for us to be really effective in producing for our clients, we've got to get to know them and what their needs are. And, everybody, of course, has different needs and different wants, and they communicate differently. So what an exciting tool that Sue has to offer for business owners. Wanda, do you want to take it away for the next item, or do you want to continue on with this discussion of this?
Well, let's go ahead and continue on, because I want to be sure that Sue can share as much of her information as possible. So my question is, your point that you had said is you believe that business owners and people in business can double their effectiveness and make more money, which obviously most of us want to do, and live a more peaceful life with this decoding system. How do you find that to be true, Sue?
Well, let me give a good example. Do you remember, and I just thought of this, so give me a little grace here because I don't have the exact name, but remember the young people that were in this elite college and they went into gambling casinos and they learned to count cards, and it was so accurate they were making millions of dollars? Mm-hmm. Well, that was a predictable system. They were able to figure it out. And so just like that, we have to be able to understand people with just a few sentences, and watching the way that they act and respond with their physical cues that their people are giving us all the time, every day. Basically, you can know how to then work with them. J. Paul Getty said this when asked what is the most important skill that an executive must possess to be successful. And he said, in order for an executive to be successful, he must be able to work through people. No amount of knowledge or experience makes any difference. If he cannot work and get results through people, he's worthless. And so that's really the goal. We want to go in and help our clients make the money with whatever company they are, but if they're not able to work through the people, and if the people aren't motivated and excited and they're not on board with that vision, well, there's a way to get them on board, and it's the way you treat them. It's how you work with them. And so I'm passionate about equipping people, but now I'm even more passionate about giving this to consultants and coaches and trainers, because if you haven't gone into the workforce, or maybe you've done DISC and people think it's this fun little activity, but it is so deep. You can take it into so many different realms. And so that is my purpose right now, Cynthia.
Perfect, perfect. And so you work with, you know, individuals, large companies, the whole spectrum?
You know, my target market is really companies where there's a staff of 10 all the way up. As long as there's about 10, that's pretty much my target market. Most of my clients are men because they're the executives of large corporations, but I've even worked, like I said, with camps, with children in junior high, because really, wherever people are, this tool is effective. But my target market for what we're talking about right now are the consultants and coaches. I want to equip them so that they have a better way to upsell their services, and they have one tool, and they can go in and do 5 to 8 different kinds of workshops, as well as do coaching with their clients and with executives.
Denise, have you ever heard of this? Have you been through this? What thoughts or questions do you have for Sue regarding what she's talking about?
Actually, yes, I have heard of DISC, and it's I love the way that Sue's explaining it in just very few words. How this can be useful to executives and business owners, even small business owners. And I do have a question, because I know that this is a powerful tool. So Sue, I know that you have got some stories of how this tool has maybe really changed some lives, and not only that, but really revolutionized some businesses. So could you just share a couple of those with us?
I'd love to, and I'll tell you what, we only have a very limited amount of time, so I promise everybody that I'll get you more information at the end so that you can do a deep dive. Right now we're kind of just snorkeling on the surface, just giving you just barely enough to probably cause some interest in this. And DISC has been around for a very, very long time, but I could tell you about the CFO that I worked with that came to me and said he hated me. And I said, why? And he said, because I'm going to have to treat people well now. And I said, yes, you are, because you're empowered. But the one that's my favorite just happened about a month ago when I did a junior high camp, and I taught the children DISC. And in junior high, that's a good, I wouldn't do it earlier than that, but junior high is a great age for them to learn about themselves. This gentleman came back to me, he's now 20 years old, and he said, Sue, I can't tell you how many times I've gone back and looked at my profile, and it has saved me from getting involved in things and a career that I should have never done. We call that planned abandonment. You abandon the things that don't fit you so that you can successfully fit and function with optimal purpose and direction in all aspects of your life.
You know, for myself, Sue, that I'm not familiar with this, is that I'm really just interested, I mean, as far as the process goes, is this something that takes, you know, a couple hours to do? Is it a 6-month program? If you could do a little bit of a deeper dive, we've got some time in regards to, okay, what is this DISC program all about? Is that, if you could just kind of walk us through what it is and how long it takes? Is it an ongoing process?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's like a language that you learn, and so you don't learn it overnight, and I do have a program that you can be DISC authorized to be able to use the profiles, and what I have are some of the best profiles on the market that are, as I said, tested and validated, and right now I'm offering an 8-week program to be able to put people through this so that they can say, I'm an authorized DISC trainer or facilitator, or I'm an authorized DISC coach or consultant, so they can go in and do team building, conflict resolution, they can do retreats, they can do VIP days, and so all with one tool opened up so many opportunities. Communication is really big. Every person communicates differently, each style. And so you learn each of the 4 styles. And what I say is DISC is like your clothing. It measures your behavior in different environments. And so you act one way at home, but you probably act a different way at work. Or you may act one way with your mother, but a different way with your best friend. Well, DISC measures exactly how it is you're acting and responding and how you are working with different people. And so you wouldn't go to a 5-star restaurant in a pair of shorts and a tank top, would you, Cynthia?
Probably not.
Yeah. So just like we learn, and we call this maturity, that you put on certain behaviors for certain environments. You wouldn't act the same way at a funeral that you would at a party. And so when people start to learn appropriateness of behavior, then they realize that there's no right or wrong many times. It's just what's appropriate. The other wonderful thing about DISC is there's not one style that's better or best. All 4 styles lead and can be good leaders. They just lead according to their style. And so you might think of DISC as the clothing, it's behavior you put on for the appropriate environment you happen to be in. I just recently have been working with a young woman that when I brought her in and we started working together, like myself, I think I was saved at a very early age. I learned this when I was 21 years old. And at that time, I was very arrogant, domineering, just roll right over people to get my way. You know, and I still have to watch those things because those are still a propensity of my personality type. And so I have to mitigate my weaknesses, and I have to really maximize my strengths. And DISC gives you that. It gives you a language to understand yourself and understand others. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a better understanding.
It's fascinating. You know, and Wanda, to my awesome co-host here, we've got some time to do some questions with Sue. Do you have a question or a thought for Sue to ask at this time? We've got a little bit of time to do a roundtable discussion here.
Absolutely. Sue, you know, although DISC has been around for quite a while, I'm sure that this discussion might be new for some people. Could you tell us what DISC stands for with the personality types? I know you can't dive deep into it, but just a basic description.
Well, I can, and they're all acronyms, which means it's a language you can use in the business world that is non-threatening. And so because you say I'm a high D, that means the dimension of my personality is highest in the D, which is dominance. I call it the dominant director, and that's that person that's like the lion, and they roar in and they go headlong into things, and they're dynamic and direct and decisive and declarative, and it's all those D kind of words. They're outgoing, but they're task-oriented. And then the I, you've got that infectious instigator that is loving life, and they have personality bubbling everywhere. They're also outgoing, however, they're not task-oriented like the high D. The high I is people-oriented. And they're your people like, okay, I can't use that example, but Whoopi Goldberg and Jim Carrey and people with very vibrant personalities that walk in the door mouth first and tell everybody all about their life, whether you want to hear it or not, and they're very expressive. And then S is your stable socializer. They are the introvert, but they're people-oriented, and they're your background, behind-the-scenes kind of people. They like to fade into the background and be the support person. They like to come alongside people and help them. They're great at being able to do tasks that are disciplined and what we would consider boring. They like that stability of doing the same thing day in and day out. That would drive me absolutely crazy. And that's your high S. And then you have your high C. And this is your cautious person. They're very careful and thoughtful, and they have maybe 1 or 2 friends their whole entire life, but they go very deep with these people. And your high C's are your artists. They're people that are bring the orchestras and beauty and the arts to our world. They're deep, rich thinkers. They're your engineer and banker type people. And we need them, and they cannot stand this profile, but I want anybody that's hearing this, in fact, you're my target market, because I go into firms that are the engineers and the bankers, and I help you get along better with people and be able to maximize your team on an ongoing basis. I had a principal that was high C that was in junior high. We just needed to do one small shift and put her down into elementary school, and her whole world changed, and it was DISC that showed us what we needed to do for her. So your high C is your introvert, but they're task-oriented.
Denise, pretty fascinating, huh? I just love it.
Absolutely. I'm just soaking up every word. I do have a question for you, Sue. One of the things that I work on with people is staying in integrity and being aligned with their values. When I'm hearing these different personality types, how can people use this to to behave in a way that's going to support them and their environment and still stay in alignment with their own personal values?
That is a phenomenal question, because values to me are as important as your behavioral style, and they have to be congruent, and I understand exactly what you're saying. So that's why, number one, I set very strong ground rules when I do a training seminar in a company, that they don't point fingers at one another and they don't try to guess what each other are, because people can be very private and we want to honor and respect, and DISC is a tool that you need to put strong boundaries around it, because it can be abused and used incorrectly, and then people do get hurt. And so by having strong ground rules in a business, you can really support them, and then they can reach their goals. Let me give you one example, Denise. I think that you'll appreciate. I worked for a hotel here in town, a 4-star hotel, and did an executive retreat. Discovered that their chef was high C, which meant that he was always planning very carefully his menus, and it wasn't just something he just wrote down like we might for a shopping list, but he was really artistically planning it and creating it. But people would barge in on him. Well, one of his values is privacy, and when you understand that the high C's value is privacy, then what we did was we instituted a knock on the door, but better than that, phone call and set an appointment. The next time I came to see this team, he came over and gave me a kiss on the cheek and thanked me, because he couldn't get it across to people, because, well, we think everybody should act and respond like, well, we do. And the people around him were very outgoing and gregarious, and they loved it when people stopped them in the middle of what they were doing, because that's their flow, but not him. To honor and respect him, he needed time. And so now they didn't interrupt him. He set an appointment, and everybody got what they needed finally, but he wasn't interrupted, because it would take him 2 or 3 hours to get back in his creative flow again.
That's impressive.
I love it, because people learn to value one another for who they are individually. We don't demand people be like me, and you learn, oh, that's just a high C, getting their needs met. Most of the time, people aren't doing things against us. They're doing things to meet their own needs. And when we realize it and we understand DISC, we go, oh, that's just, Sally's really high D today, which means she's moving fast. You're not going to be able to get an appointment with her. She's going to be abrupt, but that's okay. You understand that, because this might be a high-pressure day because she's the CEO.
Sue, just a quick thought. I'm assuming, just like any sort of coaching or mentoring, for your ideal client, they have to be open for change, correct? They have to be willing to do something different than what they're doing today, correct?
Absolutely. Cynthia, I have 2 criteria for my clients, and I will not budge on this. They have to be teachable, and they have to be willing, because I can't push or force people. When I turned 50, I decided I would work with the willing, and I would work with the teachable, and so that's all I work with now. And so I have the best clients on the face of the earth.
Love it, love it. We have about 5 minutes left to the show. I just want to, say thank you to everybody that is watching live or on the replay. We've got guest expert Sue Porter from the Legacy Leader. Along with us is my co-host Wanda Baader from Strategize Your Success, and Denise Banks-Grasedyck of Banks-Grasedyck.com. You can see on everybody's banners. So Sue, I want to thank you for being on the show today. We have a couple more minutes, which I would love for you to share. You know, if people want to learn about DISC and learn more about you, where can they begin? How, you know, I guess you have something to offer to our audience, which is just fantastic. I'd love to give you a few minutes for you to share that with our audience.
Well, I always love giving an ethical bribe, so let me tell you what I have ready for everybody, and that's really still being prepared, and that is that there's one other assessment I provide for my clients that is one, I think, a foundation tool, and that is a mission and purpose profile. And I'm going to be doing a webinar, teleseminar, introduction to the next time the course starts, which is the end of August. If you're interested at all in learning to be authorized as a DISC facilitator, trainer, or coach, I'm going to be doing a call on the 7th and on the 11th. So if you want to get in contact with me, just drop me an email at sue.porterconsulting@gmail.com. I'm in the middle of a very big shift in my branding, so this is temporary. But if you just in the line in the memo just say DISC trainer, and I will get you the information on that preview webinar and call. And if you sign up for it, I will send you the mission profile that you can use for yourself to create your own personal mission statement, as well as you can then use it with your personal clients. And then, if you'll stay all the way through the webinar, I'll send you the MP3 teaching you how to use the profile.
You know, we've got a couple more minutes, so I want to put as much information as we can on this, you know, this great show. You know, this might be a simple, you know, answer, but people might be asking, do I need to be local? Is this something that I need to work in person with, or can you do this virtually?
You know, this course is a virtual course. I'm going to be doing it through webinar, just like we're doing right here. I just have my first 10 graduates that went through the course about 2 weeks ago. I've been doing DISC for over 30 years, which gives away my age, but it's about time I give it away and help other people utilize it. And I really believe there are a lot of coaches that they've seen it, they've been introduced to it, but I hear so many tell me I had no idea how rich this was, how much you can do with it, and how deep you can take it with your clients, with companies and corporations. This is what I call my entryway into business, Cynthia. Everybody has to have an entryway. Wanda's is marketing, I'm pretty well sure, and other people have a professional organization as their entry, or maybe they do another competency. Once you get in and then the people get to know you, then you can offer other items once you're in the door. So I call DISC one of the most amazing entry points into business. And if you want to launch seminars and workshops, I'm basically going to provide everything you need to do your own workshop, your own seminar, all of the activities, even outlined the times and when to take a break and when to stop and exactly what to say, with all the notes. And I'm giving you everything that I've used. I've not held anything back that I've used for over 30 years. And I can tell you I've been on 2 different, billion-dollar corporations doing this with executives, the very same thing I turn around and do with a group of moms. Because it's just a matter of shifting your approach to the audience that you happen to be with. And so I'll tell you how to grow your client base with DISC and how to build your list with DISC, how to use it for these different competencies. And so basically I'm giving the whole boatload. And then not only that, but then you have access to the Wiley products of DISC. And in order for most people to do that, they'd have to pay $2,400, and I'm considerably lower than that. And they can find out more on the first call, on the preview call.
Perfect, perfect. You know, we've got about 30 to 40 seconds left. I want to shoot it to Denise real quick to some final thoughts for Sue, and I want to thank you, Denise, for being on the show. You've got about 10, 15 seconds, girl.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Sue. I can't wait for the webinar because I want to hear more about how I can use this in my business. And whoever is watching, get on that webinar so you can get all these great tools that Sue's going to be giving us. And thank you so much, Wanda, also for having us.
All right. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Wanda Baader, to finish off this fantastic show.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. Sue has such a wealth of information to share with you, so please take advantage of the event that she has coming up to learn more if this is something that's of interest to you. I guarantee you won't be sorry. Sue is just like an MBA when it comes to the disc profile arena. But thank you, Sue, for joining us today. Thank you, Denise, for joining us. I know that you're in Berlin, Germany, and that you're staying up late to be with us right now. And we truly appreciate both of you. And for everybody else out there, next week we will have another fantastic show. So please join us for Hot Tips for Biz at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Google Hangouts on Air. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.